I got a question. Okay, you got a football field that's 100 yards long, a basketball court that's 94, 10-foot high baskets. Why are baseball fields different lengths? Why? Because home runs, to me, mean nothing. If I'm hitting a home run at 280 feet, and player B is hitting home runs at 320 feet. This guy's got 10 home runs. The other guy's got 50. What sense does that make?
Well, I mean, every team is going to play 81 home games and 81 games on the road. So the dimensions are the same for the two teams that are playing that day. The reason that baseball fields are different size, and I think it's charming, I think it's a nice part of the sport, is because when they built stadiums in the old days, they had to fit it into a city block. Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes it was short and left field. At Fenway, it was short. Fenway was short and left. Yankee Stadium, one of the reasons they made it short and right was for Babe Ruth, the house that Ruth built. But a lot of the ballparks were fit into city blocks, and that's why they couldn't have the same dimensions. And if you ask me, I was commissioner for a day, I would not make it the same dimensions, Don.
Well, they felt because the one thing they could do is keep the infield the same.
Right.
So that becomes their basketball court, that becomes their hockey rink, that becomes their football field. And for all the reasons you said, the outfield was different. Now, it doesn't have to be that way anymore, but how are you going to make Fenway change? They can't. They're stuck. So if you can't change Fenway, you can't change Wrigley, then why would you change anybody? And as you said, it's kind of become the charm of it. But that's the reason. But unless you made Fenway Park move to the suburbs, Michael, how can they have the same dimensions as Comerica Park or whatever they call it now? Because there's a building there. they can't. What, are they going to blow up a building? Same thing with Wrigley Field. You're in the neighborhood. So,
now, Don, the hockey rinks used to be different sizes, right?
Well, the only two that were different was Chicago Stadium and Boston Garden. Mm-hmm. And because, again, the same thing. They just, the way they made and so the
they
neutral
were basketball
zone,
arenas first.
Yeah, the neutral zone was what was smaller. So both ends were the same as far as the team's offensive zones, but the neutral zone was a little bit smaller. But once they opened up the new buildings in Chicago and Boston, they all went back to the regular dimensions. But it was the same kind of thing. Like there was only so much room you could do. These were inner city buildings. So you did the best that you could at that particular time, but you don't want to. There was a different way to play at the Boston Garden, by the way they built their team because of the smaller neutral zone. But that's the new building's been open for 25 years now, so that's over. But I like the charm of baseball being a little bit different.
So do I.
You'd have something to complain about if it wasn't all 60 feet 6 inches, or 90 feet with the bases. That would be compromised, but. I think it's charming.
Now, a lot of people could say, okay, the right field at Yankee Stadium yields too many cheap home runs, but it also yields it for the other team. And it hurts Yankee pitchers. So, you get some and you give some. That's the way it works. It's not like they moved the fences back when Garrett Cole's on the mound.
Well, I remember you complaining about, and I guess you had a point, about when they originally opened Citi Field because it was just monstrous. Mm-hmm. And you said it was unfair. And I understood your point, but I thought the phrasing was wrong. It's not unfair. It's fair. Both teams play under the same conditions.
Yeah, but it was unfair to their best player.
It's unfair to David Wright, who saw his home runs get cut down from Shea Stadium to Citi Field, but it played fair for both teams, but it was unfair to home run hitters. But it was the Mets were always built around pitching, but that was obnoxious how big that building was. And then they brought him in. They brought him in Detroit, too. That was also unfair.
Oh, it was ridiculous how deep it was.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Especially, you want runs to be scored. For the good of the sport, you want offense. Now, Detroit was cavernous. It actually made Citi Field look cozy. But now they've moved in the left field wall, and they have the Great Wall of, the Great Wall of, what does Howie call it? Shea?
The Great
Queens?
Wall of Flushing.
Flushing. And that's not the home run wall anymore.
Yeah, but you want to know a joke, Michael, and it's a great moment in New York sports history. But, the Polo Grounds, that was a joke. The Robbie Thompson home run was a joke. Now, don't take it away from him. The Dodgers had the same thing that they could have taken advantage of, but that wouldn't play today, Michael.
And the great catch that will go down forever, Willie Mays on Vic Wertz, it should have been out by 20 feet. He wouldn't have been able to catch the ball. But it was it was like 480 feet to center field at the Polo Grounds.
They literally, it was that's why they call it the Polo Grounds. It was a polo field, but basically it was a football field you played on. So, like, Michael, left field was a joke.
Yeah.
What was it actually? Like, what was it, like 255? Like something ridiculous.
Well, I mean, the LA Coliseum was ridiculous, too, before the Dodgers built Dodger Stadium. I mean, there's a history of it in the game. It happens.